Ever feel like you're just playing catch-up with this whirlwind of football transfers and all the deals?
Absolutely. It never stops, does it? Even before the window officially opens.
Exactly. Well, today, here, we've sifted through some of the noise. You can find the details over at eplnews.org, too, to bring you, well, the absolute essentials.
The kind of intel that sharpens your understanding of what might really be happening behind the scenes.
Right. We're going to unpack the latest transfer gossip around Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, and a few others.
Looking at potential price tags, those tricky contract situations, and, which clubs are circling.
Our mission, basically, is to give you a clear, concise, and hopefully insightful overview of these developments. Save you some time, bring the interesting stuff forward.
Sounds good. Let's dive in. Where should we start? Manchester United, maybe?
Yeah, let's start there. So, Rasmus Hojlund. United have apparently set an asking price.
52 million or 60 million euros. That's the figure floating around.
That's quite specific, isn't it? 52 million.
It is. And Tunner Mercado Web reports Juventus are interested in the Danish striker. He's only 22.
So that price tag, 52 million pounds, it feels like a marker put down early doors.
Definitely. It says this is what we value him at. Whether it's negotiable, who knows, but it's a starting point, especially with Juve apparently sniffing around.
It suggests they still see the potential, right? Even
Yeah.
if the goals haven't perhaps flowed as freely as some hoped initially.
I think so. It reflects their initial investment and future projection for him.
And staying with United attackers Marcus Rashford, there's talk of potential clear-the-air talks with Ruben Amorim in the summer.
Yeah, the Daily Star mentioned this, but there's a condition, isn't there?
Right. Only if the 27-year-old doesn't sign permanently with Aston Villa.
Which is fascinating. It sort of implies Amorim only wants that conversation if Rashford is still potentially, in the mix or relevant to the wider league picture, not just settled elsewhere.
Like some unfinished business, perhaps. Or just understanding his perspective.
Could be either. Maybe a professional courtesy, maybe something more strategic. But if the Villa move happens, the talks are off, apparently.
And then there's Matthias Cunha at Wolves.
Ah, yes, the Daily Mail links him with a whole bunch of clubs.
United are mentioned, but also Newcastle, Arsenal, Villa again, Forest, Spurs. Quite the list.
It certainly creates buzz around the player, doesn't it? That level of reported interest, even if it's just initial stages, it tends to inflate perceptions of value.
Definitely gets agents and clubs thinking. Okay, let's switch to Manchester City. Morgan Gibbs-White.
Nottingham Forest. And the reported asking price is, wow, it's huge.
Fox Sport is saying 100 million. 100 million pounds.
Wow. That is eye-watering. For the 25-year-old England midfielder.
So if City want him this summer, that's supposedly the number they have to hit.
That's a massive valuation. It makes you wonder, can Forest actually command that? Or is it a hands-off price?
Or maybe they just really, really rate him that highly. Do you see City paying that? They're usually quite careful, even when spending big.
It's a very high bar. 100 million is a statement fee. City have spent big before, yes, but usually there's a sense of calculated value. This feels like a premium.
Yeah, significant premium. We'll see. On a slightly smaller scale for City, Nico O'Reilly.
Right, the young midfielder, England under 20. Talks seem to be progressing on a new deal.
Fabrizio Romano reporting that. And Chelsea were apparently interested back in January.
They were, yeah. Which probably explains why City are keen to, lock him down now, securing young talent.
Makes sense. Protect the asset. And it shows not every potential deal works out for the big clubs either. Sergi Altamira at Real Betis.
Romano again. The 23-year-old midfielder looks like he's signing a new contract there until 2029.
Despite interest from City, reportedly.
Exactly. And the new deal includes a release clause, apparently 60 million euros.
Which is about 51.9 million.
Yeah.
So Betis secure him, but also set a future price.
It tells you the player's happy to stay for now, and Betis have put a clear valuation on him should someone, maybe City or another club, come calling down the line. Interest doesn't always mean a move happened.
That's true. So many factors involved. Okay, Arsenal, William Saliba.
Ah, the Real Madrid situation. This one's interesting.
The Athletic suggests Real are playing a bit of a long game here.
Yeah, biding their time, it seems. Aiming for maybe a cut price deal in 2026.
Or even potentially a free transfer when his contract runs out in 2027.
He's only 24, already top class. For Real Madrid to be that patient, it says a lot about how much they rate him, but also maybe their financial approach these days.
It puts Arsenal in a tricky spot down the line, doesn't it, as that contract ticks down?
Absolutely. Do they push hard for a renewal soon? Do they risk letting it run down? Or do they consider a sale earlier if an agreement isn't reached? It's a strategic game.
Definitely one to watch. Now, Tottenham Hotspur, Mathis Tell.
The young forward, 19, on loan from Bayern Munich.
Spurs are apparently considering making that move permanent. He must have shown something they like.
Seems so. But Florian Plettenberg reports they aren't willing to activate the buy option clause.
Which is set at around 50 to 55 million euros. So 43 to 47 million roughly.
Yeah, so Spurs like the player, want to keep him maybe, but not at that specific price.
They have their own valuation, and now it potentially opens up negotiations with Bayern, right?
Exactly. If Bayern want to sell and Spurs want to buy, they'll need to find a number they both agree on, separate from that original clause. Financial discipline from Spurs, perhaps.
Okay, let's touch on a couple of other big names briefly. Lionel Messi.
Inter Miami. The Athletic reports they're close to an agreement on a contract extension for him.
Still making waves at 37. Huge for the MLS, keeping him there.
Undeniably, his impact is massive on and off the pitch, shows his commitment too.
And back in the Premier League, Virgil van Dijk.
Big news for Liverpool. Fabrizio Romano says he's agreed terms on a new contract.
The captain, 33 now. That's huge for their stability, isn't it?
Massive, especially with changes elsewhere at the club. Keeping their defensive rock and leader is crucial. Expected to sign before the season ends, apparently.
Provides real continuity.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just pull back for a second. What have we seen?
Some potentially huge fees being quoted. Gibbs-White's $100 million stands out.
Yeah. United setting a clear price for Hojlund. Real Madrid playing that waiting game for Saliba.
And really significant contract developments for, absolute legends like Messi and Van Dijk securing their immediate futures.
Right. It paints a picture, doesn't it? A really dynamic transfer landscape shaping up even now. And remember, you can keep track of all these developments and get more depth over at eplnews.org.
Which leads to a good question to ponder, I think. Considering all these potential moves and the different valuations we're hearing, what do you think is shaping up to be the shrewdest piece of business being discussed? And maybe more broadly, how might these transfers, if they happen, really reshape things in Europe next season?
Good question. It's not just about the big names, but how all these pieces might fit together or potentially fall apart. Lots to think about.